The acrid smell of ozone and melted circuitry filled the air as Lieutenant Marcus Reed stepped through the wreckage of the diplomatic station. His combat boots echoed against twisted metal flooring, each step a reminder of how quickly everything had gone wrong. The peace summit between the Terran Federation and the Zephyrian Empire had lasted exactly 47 minutes before raiders struck. "Command, this is Reed," he spoke into his comm unit, adjusting the power settings on his pulse rifle. "Station Omega-7 is compromised. Casualties unknown. Requesting immediate backup. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." Static answered him. The raider's electromagnetic pulse had fried most communication systems, leaving him isolated in the maze of damaged corridors. His mission parameters were clear: locate survivors, secure the area, and extract any diplomatic personnel who might still be alive. The emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as Marcus moved deeper into the station. His enhanced vision picked up heat signatures ahead, two life forms, one significantly larger than the other. Moving cautiously, he rounded a corner and froze. A Zephyrian warrior stood over what appeared to be a wounded human diplomat, her massive frame blocking the corridor. Even in the dim lighting, her armor was magnificent, intricately carved plates of deep crimson metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Each piece was a work of art, featuring flowing patterns that spoke of centuries of warrior tradition. She was easily 7 feet tall, her muscular form evident even beneath the elaborate armor. Her skin held a deep red hue that complemented her battle gear, and her long black hair was braided with silver threads that caught the emergency lights. When she turned toward him, Marcus saw eyes like burning coals, intelligent and fierce. "Stay back, human," she commanded, her voice carrying the melodic accent typical of her species. "This area is not secure." Marcus raised his hand slowly, keeping his rifle lowered but ready. "I'm Lieutenant Marcus Reed, Terran Marines. I'm here to help evacuate survivors." The Zephyrian's eyes narrowed as she studied him. "You are military, not diplomatic corps. Why would a human warrior concern himself with our safety?" Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. "Now back to the story." "Because that's what we do," Marcus replied simply. "We protect those who need protecting, regardless of species." Something in his tone made her pause. She stepped aside slightly, revealing the wounded diplomat, a middle-aged human man with a severe leg injury. Blood pooled beneath him, and his breathing was labored. "Ambassador Chun." Marcus recognized the man immediately. "Sir, can you hear me?" The ambassador's eyes fluttered open. "Reed? Thank the stars. Zara here. She saved my life. Raiders would have killed me if not for her intervention." Marcus looked up at the Zephyrian warrior with new respect. "Zara? That's your name?" She nodded curtly. "Zara Veltar, First Blade of the Crimson Guard. I was assigned as security escort for our delegation." "Well, Zara Veltar," Marcus said, kneeling to examine the ambassador's wounds, "I have to say, your armor is absolutely incredible. The craftsmanship is unlike anything I've ever seen. Those patterns, are they traditional clan markings?" The change in Zara was immediate and striking. Her fierce expression softened, and a deep crimson blush spread across her red-tinted cheeks, making her appear almost purple in the dim light. She stammered for a moment before catching herself. "You noticed the craftsmanship?" she asked, her voice losing some of its commanding edge. "Most humans see only weapons and assume barbarism." Marcus continued his field treatment of the ambassador while talking. "Are you kidding? This is art, the way the metal flows here." He gestured toward her shoulder plates. "And the integration of practical protection with aesthetic beauty, it's masterful. Who created this?" Zara's blush deepened, and she unconsciously adjusted her stance, suddenly very aware of how the armor fitted her form. My grandmother was the finest armorer in our clan. She crafted this when I achieved the rank of First Blade. Each piece tells a story of our lineage. The silver inlays, Marcus observed, applying a healing gel to the ambassador's leg. They're not just decorative, are they? They look like they might channel energy or provide additional protection. You have a warrior's eye, Zara said, her voice filled with surprise and growing respect. The silver traces are carved with protective runes. They can absorb impact energy and redistribute it across the armor's surface. Marcus sealed the ambassador's wound with synthetic skin. Brilliant engineering, functional and beautiful. Your grandmother must have been extraordinary. The compliment seemed to overwhelm Zara. She turned away for a moment, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted her weapon harness. When she faced him again, her expression had transformed from mere surprise to something more complex, a mixture of pride, confusion, and what might have been attraction. No human has ever ... she began, then stopped herself. That is, most other species see our ways as primitive. They do not understand the honor in our craftsmanship. Then they're fools, Marcus said firmly, helping the ambassador to his feet. Beauty and function combined at this level? That's the mark of an advanced civilization, not a primitive one. Zara's breathing had become slightly uneven, and Marcus noticed her combat stance had shifted subtly. Where before she had been purely defensive, now there was something else in her posture, a tension that spoke of different kinds of readiness. You speak truth, she said, her voice lower now. But words are one thing. Understanding is another. Marcus supported the ambassador's weight while keeping his rifle ready. What do you mean? Among my people, Zara began, then paused as if weighing her words carefully. Appreciation of warrior craft is shown through action, not merely words. I'm not sure I follow. Zara's eyes flashed with something that might have been challenge or invitation. You praise my armor, human warrior. But do you truly understand what it represents? Can you appreciate the skill required not just to craft such protection, but to wield it in battle? Marcus felt the shift in atmosphere. What had been a rescue situation was transforming into something else entirely. Are you questioning my understanding of combat? I question whether your appreciation runs deeper than surface admiration. Zara replied, her voice taking on a formal tone that Marcus was beginning to recognize as significant. Any fool can admire pretty metalwork. A true warrior understands that armor is meaningless without the skill to use it properly. The ambassador stirred in Marcus's arms. Lieutenant, he whispered urgently, be careful. In Zephyrian culture, comments about a warrior's equipment can be interpreted as challenges to their competence. Marcus looked between the wounded diplomat and the towering alien warrior, whose blush had now transformed into something more intense. Zara's grip on her weapon had tightened, and her stance had shifted to what was clearly a pre-combat position. Zara, Marcus said carefully, I meant no disrespect to your abilities. Your armor is magnificent because it's clearly been worn by a skilled warrior. The battle damage I can see speaks to real combat experience. Battle damage? Zara's voice was dangerously quiet. Marcus realized his mistake immediately. What he had interpreted as honorable wear from combat, she might see as criticism of her ability to avoid damage. In trying to compliment her experience, he had inadvertently suggested she had been careless or insufficient in battle. I meant, he began. You meant that I am clumsy in combat, Zara interrupted, her voice now carrying the formal cadence he was learning to dread. That I allow enemies to mark my armor through poor technique. No, that's not what I... Silence. Zara's blade sang. As it cleared its sheath, the metal humming with contained energy. You have complimented my armor while questioning my worthiness to wear it. By the laws of my people, this is a formal challenge to single combat. Ambassador Chun gripped Marcus's arm weakly. "Lieutenant, you don't understand. In Zephyrian culture, questioning a warrior's competence while praising their equipment is considered one of the gravest insults possible. It suggests they are unworthy of their status." Marcus felt the weight of his cultural misunderstanding settling on him like a stone. "Zara, please. I was trying to show respect, not challenge you. I don't know your customs well enough to. Ignorance is not an excuse for a warrior," Zara declared, raising her blade to a formal guard position. "You have issued challenge, whether intentionally or not. Honor demands satisfaction." The corridor suddenly felt much smaller, with a 7-foot Zephyrian warrior in full combat stance blocking their path. Marcus could see the skill in her movement, the way she balanced her considerable weight with fluid grace. Her armor, which he had admired for its beauty, now revealed its true purpose as she moved each plate, shifting and flexing to provide maximum protection while maintaining complete freedom of movement. "I accept that I have offended you," Marcus sighed, trying to find middle ground while calculating escape routes. "But I have a wounded man here who needs medical attention. Surely your honor doesn't require us to fight while he bleeds." Zara's expression flickered momentarily, and Marcus saw conflict in her burning eyes. "The wounded will be protected," she said finally. "This is between us now, human. My name is Marcus." "This is between us now, Marcus Reed." The way she said his name made it sound like both a curse and a prayer. "You will face me in honorable combat, or you will be marked as a coward before both our peoples." Marcus carefully lowered the ambassador to the ground, making sure he was stable before turning to face Zara fully. "And if I refuse? Then you prove that humans are indeed the weak, honorless creatures many of my people believe you to be." Zara's blade moved in a complex pattern that Marcus recognized as a formal challenge ritual. "But I do not think you will refuse." "Why not?" "Because you are a warrior, Marcus Reed. I can see it in how you move, how you assess threats, how you protected the wounded despite your own danger. You may not understand our customs, but you understand honor." Marcus found himself in an impossible situation. Fight a 7-foot alien warrior in armor that could probably deflect his rifle shots, or prove every negative stereotype about humans that existed in the galaxy. Neither option seemed likely to end well. "What are the terms?" he asked, unsinging his rifle and checking his sidearm. "First blood," Zara replied, though something in her expression suggested she was being merciful. "Standard dueling protocols. When one warrior draws blood from their opponent, the combat ends and honor is satisfied. And weapons? You may use whatever you carry. I will use only my blade." Zara's eyes glittered with what might have been anticipation. "Unless you consider that unfair advantage to me?" Marcus almost smiled despite the situation. Even in issuing a formal challenge, she was managing to be courteous. "Your blade against my sidearm seems fair enough. Then prepare yourself, human. Warrior. Let us see if your appreciation of Zephyrian craftsmanship extends to understanding how it functions in battle." Marcus drew his sidearm, a standard-issue plasma pistol designed for close-quarters combat. The weapon felt inadequate against Zara's impressive blade, but he had trained extensively in mixed combat situations. His tactical mind began analyzing her stance, looking for weaknesses or patterns he could exploit. Zara moved with fluid grace as she took her position, her armor plates shifting and adjusting automatically to her combat stance. The emergency lighting caught the silver inlays, making them seem to glow with inner fire. She truly was magnificent, Marcus thought, even as he prepared to fight her. "Begin when ready," Zara announced formally. Marcus had fought many opponents in his military career, but never one quite like this. Zara moved like liquid metal, her armor singing softly as the plates adjusted to her movements. Her blade work was poetry in motion, each strike and parry flowing seamlessly into the next. He quickly discovered that her armor was even more advanced than he had realized. His plasma shots, while accurate, seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the crimson plates. The silver inlays were indeed channeling the energy, spreading it across the armor's surface until it became manageable. "Impressive," he called out, dodging a strike that would have opened his throat. "Your grandmother's work is even better than I thought." Zara's response was a combination of increased aggression and what he was learning to recognize as a pleased blush. "You begin to understand," she replied, pressing her attack. "But understanding and surviving are different skills." Marcus found himself grinning despite the mortal danger. There was something exhilarating about facing an opponent who was clearly his superior in single combat, yet was holding back just enough to make it a fair fight. He began to see patterns in her attacks, places where her formal training created predictable responses. "Your technique is flawless," he observed, using his smaller size to slip inside her guard and land a glancing blow with his weapon's butt against her armor. "But maybe a little too perfect." Zara's eyes flashed with surprise and what might have been respect. "Explain." "You fight like you learned in a school," Marcus said, continuing to move and dodge. "Every move is textbook perfect. But real combat isn't textbook perfect." "And you fight like a street brawler," Zara replied, her blade work becoming more creative as she adapted to his unorthodox style. "No form, no discipline." "Exactly." Marcus managed to duck under a strike that would have decapitated him, then rolled between her legs to come up behind her. "I fight to win, not to look good doing it." Zara spun with impossible speed, her armor allowing her to move in ways that should have been impossible for someone her size. "And yet you have not drawn blood. Neither have you." They separated, both breathing hard. Marcus could see that Zara was enjoying herself, despite the formal nature of their combat. There was a light in her eyes that suggested this was the most fun she had had in quite some time. "You are better than I expected," she admitted, her stance relaxing slightly. "You're exactly as good as I expected," Marcus replied, "which is terrifying." Zara laughed, a rich sound that echoed off the corridor walls. "Perhaps we should." An explosion rocked the station, throwing both warriors off balance. Emergency alarms began blaring, and the lights flickered ominously. Through the station's windows, Marcus could see ships approaching more raiders, coming to finish what they had started. "The duel will have to wait," Marcus said, immediately moving to help the ambassador. "Agreed," Zara replied, sheathing her blade with obvious reluctance. "But this matter is not finished between us, Marcus Reed." "I wouldn't expect it to be," Marcus said, surprised to find that he was looking forward to continuing their interrupted fight. They worked together to move the ambassador to a more secure location, their earlier combat having created an odd kind of trust between them. Marcus found himself admiring not just Zara's armor, but the warrior who wore it, her strength, her skill, and her unexpected willingness to bend tradition when circumstances demanded it. "The raiders are returning in force," Zara observed, checking her weapon systems. "We cannot hold this position." "The evacuation shuttle should be arriving soon," Marcus replied, though he wondered if their communication systems were still down. "We just need to survive until then." Zara's expression grew thoughtful. "There is another option." "What do you mean?" "My ship is docked in Bay 7. It is small, but fast. We could escape and call for proper rescue." Marcus looked at the wounded ambassador, then at the approaching raider ships. "Your ship would be big enough for all of us?" "It would be intimate," Zara said, and Marcus caught another of those interesting blushes. "But yes, we would fit." The station shook again as the raiders began their final assault. Marcus made his decision. "Lead the way, warrior." "And Zara?" "Yes?" "When this is over, I'd like to continue our conversation about your armor." Zara's blush deepened, but her smile was fierce and proud. "I would like that very much, Marcus Reed." "Very much indeed." As they began their escape through the damaged station, Marcus reflected on how quickly his simple rescue mission had become something far more complex and interesting. He had come to evacuate survivors and instead found himself in a formal duel with a magnificent alien warrior who blushed at compliments and challenged him to single combat in the same breath. The day was far from over, and Marcus suspected that. His adventures with Zara Veltar were just beginning. Base 7 was a disaster zone of twisted metal and sparking conduits. But Zara's ship sat undamaged in its docking cradle, a sleek vessel that looked like it had been grown rather than built. The hull bore the same flowing patterns as her armor, suggesting both came from the same artistic tradition. "The Crimson Dawn," Zara announced with obvious pride as she activated the boarding ramp. "She has been in my family for 3 generations." Marcus helped Ambassador Chun up the ramp, noting how the ship's interior maintained the same aesthetic as Zara's armor. Every surface seemed to flow into the next, creating an environment that was both functional and beautiful. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. "Your people really are artists," he observed, settling the ambassador into what appeared to be medical bay. "Everything you create is gorgeous." Zara's blush returned with a vengeance as she powered up the ship's systems. "You continue to surprise me with your observations, Marcus Reed. Most humans see only the practical aspects of our technology." "Maybe most humans aren't looking hard enough," Marcus replied, studying the elegant control interfaces. "How do you operate these?" "There are no buttons or switches I can recognize." "Touch-based neural interface," Zara explained, her hands dancing across panels that responded to her contact with soft chimes. "The ship reads the pilot's intentions through skin contact and biometric feedback. It requires training to master." The station rocked with another explosion, much closer this time. Through the ship's viewports, Marcus could see Raider boarding pods attaching to the outer hull like metallic parasites. "We need to leave now," he said urgently. "Agreed." Zara's hands moved faster across the controls. "But there is a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The docking clamps are magnetically sealed. The Raider's electromagnetic pulse damaged the release mechanism. I can override it, but double quotes." She hesitated. "But what?" Zara's crimson cheeks darkened further. "The override requires a dual pilot configuration. The ship's safety protocols demand 2 operators for emergency procedures." Marcus understood. "Immediately. You need me to help fly this thing." "The neural interface will need to establish a connection with you," Zara explained, her voice carefully controlled. "It requires physical contact to read your biometric patterns." An explosion echoed through the bay as Raiders breached the outer doors. Marcus could hear the distinctive whine of energy weapons charging. "Just tell me what to do," he said without hesitation. Zara gestured to the co-pilot's seat, which was clearly designed for someone her size. When Marcus sat down, he found himself dwarfed by the alien furniture, but the seat automatically adjusted to accommodate his smaller frame. "Place your hands here," Zara directed, indicating panels on either side of his seat. "The interface will be intense. Zephyrian neural technology is more direct than human systems." Marcus pressed his palms against the warm panels and immediately gasped. The sensation was like having electricity flow through his nervous system, but pleasant rather than painful. Information flooded his mind: ship status, power levels, navigation data, all of it somehow comprehensible despite being completely alien. "By the gods," Zara breathed, staring at her own displays. "Your neural pattern is remarkably adaptable. The ship is accepting you as if you were born to it. Is that unusual?" "Unprecedented," she said, her eyes wide with amazement. "Most aliens require months of conditioning to interface with our technology. You achieved synchronization in seconds." The ship's systems hummed to life around them, and Marcus felt a strange sensation of expansion, as if his consciousness had grown to encompass the entire vessel. He could sense every component, every energy flow, every structural stress point. "Now we disengage," Zara said, her own hands moving across her panels. "Together." The moment Marcus activated his side of the override, he felt Zara's presence in his mind. Not her thoughts exactly, but her intentions, her emotions, her fierce concentration as she piloted the ship. It was incredibly intimate, more personal than anything he had ever experienced. The docking clamps released with a satisfying clang, and the Crimson Dawn lifted smoothly from its berth. Through the neural link, Marcus felt Zara's joy at being in flight again, her pride in her ship's performance, and something else, a warm contentment that seemed to be directed at him. "Raiders closing fast," Marcus reported, the information flowing to him through the ship's sensors. "3 interceptors. Military grade." "Then we show them why Zephyrian engineering is superior," Zara replied, her mental presence suddenly blazing with combat readiness. The next few minutes were unlike anything Marcus had experienced. Through the neural link, he was essentially co-piloting a ship whose capabilities far exceeded anything in the human fleet. The Crimson Dawn moved like a living thing, responding to their combined intentions with impossible grace. "Roll left, dive 30 degrees, Marcus found himself thinking, and the ship responded instantly. Impressive tactical sense, Zara's voice reached him both audibly and through their connection. "You think like a pilot. You fly like a dancer," he replied, meaning it as the highest compliment. The warmth that flooded through their link was so intense it almost broke his concentration. Whatever barriers normally existed between Zephyrian minds, the neural interface was dissolving them rapidly. They evaded the first raider attack through a maneuver that should have been impossible, a spiraling dive that used the station's gravity, while to slingshot them past their pursuers. Marcus felt Zara's exhilaration at the successful escape, mixed with surprise at how naturally he had anticipated the move. "You have piloted our ships before," she said, though it was more question than statement. "Never," Marcus replied honestly. "But your interface lets me feel what the ship needs. It's intuitive." "No," Zara said slowly, her mental voice filled with wonder. "It is not the interface. It is you. Your mind works in harmony with our technology." The second wave of raiders approached from a different vector, trying to box them in. Marcus found himself analyzing their attack pattern and formulating a response that combined human tactical doctrine with Zephyrian ship capabilities. Can this ship handle a reverse thrust spiral with simultaneous weapons deployment? He asked through their link. Zara's surprise rippled through their connection. "That is an advanced combat maneuver. How do you know of it?" "I don't. I just know what we need to do." Without further discussion, they executed the maneuver together. The Crimson Dawn spun on its axis while reversing thrust, bringing its weapons to bear on all 3 pursuers simultaneously. The raiders, caught completely off guard by the impossible move, flew directly into the ship's firing solutions. The brief battle ended with all 3 raider ships disabled and drifting, their crews hopefully alive but definitely out of the fight. "Remarkable," Zara breathed, her hands still moving across her controls as they cleared the battle zone. "I have never flown with such perfect synchronization, not even with trained Zephyrian co-pilots." Marcus was beginning to understand why she seemed so affected by their neural connection. The intimacy of shared thought and intention was intoxicating. He could feel her emotions as clearly as his own, her pride in their successful escape, her amazement at his natural affinity for her technology, and underneath it all, a growing attraction that mirrored his own. "We should break the connection," Zara said softly, though she made no move to do so. "We are clear of immediate danger." "Should we?" Marcus asked, finding himself reluctant to lose the incredible sensation of shared consciousness. "The neural link becomes more intense the longer it remains active," Zara explained, her mental voice carrying hints of embarrassment. "Extended connections can lead to complications." "What kind of complications?" Zara's blush, visible even through their link, told him everything he needed to know. Among my people, prolonged neural sharing is considered an extremely intimate act. It is typically reserved for bonded pairs. Marcus felt his own cheeks warming. Bonded pairs as in married couples, Zara confirmed. The connection allows complete sharing of thoughts, emotions, even physical sensations. It is the deepest form of intimacy possible between Zephyrians. The implications hung between them like a charged particle field. They were essentially engaging in the alien equivalent of an extremely intimate act, and both of them were enjoying it far more than they probably should. We should probably disconnect, Marcus said reluctantly. Yes, Zara agreed, making no move to break the link. We should. They remained connected for several more minutes, each reluctant to end the incredible sensation of shared consciousness. Finally, practical necessity forced the issue as they approached the edge of the system and needed to plot a course to safety. There's a Zephyrian outpost in the next system, Zara said, finally beginning the disconnection sequence. We can take your ambassador there for proper medical treatment. Sounds good, Marcus replied, immediately missing the warmth of her mental presence as the link faded. The silence that followed felt almost oppressive after the intimacy of shared thought. Ambassador Chun, who had been unconscious during most of their escape, stirred in the medical bay. Lieutenant? He called weakly. Where are we? Safe, Marcus replied, moving to check on him. We're en route to a Zephyrian medical facility. And our pilot? Marcus glanced at Zara, who was studiously focused on her navigation displays. First Blade Zara Veltar saved all our lives. We owe her a considerable debt. Indeed we do, the ambassador agreed. Lieutenant, I hope you understand the significance of what happened back there. The neural link you shared among Zephyrians. That level of technological integration is considered a sign of profound compatibility. Ambassador, Zara interrupted, her voice carefully neutral. The human was merely adapting to emergency circumstances. Was he? Chun's diplomatic training had clearly not been affected by his injuries. First Blade, in 40 years of interspecies relations, I have never seen a human achieve such rapid integration with alien technology. And certainly never with such apparent natural affinity. Marcus looked between them, sensing undercurrents he didn't fully understand. What are you getting at, sir? Among Zephyrians, Chun explained carefully, technological compatibility is considered an indicator of deeper compatibility. Their marriage ceremonies actually include tests of neural linking ability. The silence that followed was deafening. Zara's hands had frozen over her controls, and Marcus could see the crimson flush spreading up her neck again. Ambassador, she said finally, you are suggesting implications that are not ... that cannot be ... I'm suggesting nothing, Chun replied diplomatically. I'm merely observing that what occurred between you two is unprecedented in human Zephyrian relations. Marcus found himself studying Zara's profile as she worked. The strong line of her jaw, the elegant curve of her neck, the way her hair caught the light. He was beginning to realize that his appreciation of her armor had evolved into appreciation of the warrior who wore it. Zara, he said quietly, yes? She replied without looking at him, about our duel, it's not finished. Now she did look at him, her burning eyes meeting his. No, it is not. When we reach the outpost, when the ambassador is safe, would you be willing to continue? Zara's expression was unreadable. You wish to resume combat with me? I wish to understand you better, Marcus said honestly. Your fighting style, your traditions, the way you think about honor and combat. The neural link gave me a taste of how your mind works, and I want to learn more. That is an unusual request. I'm an unusual human, apparently. Zara's smile when it came was radiant. Yes, Marcus Reed, you are most unusual indeed. The Zephyrian outpost appeared on their screens an hour later, a graceful structure that seemed to grow from the asteroid it was built into, like everything. Zephyrian, it was both functional and beautiful, its lines flowing in harmony with the natural rock formations. "They are responding to our hail," Zara reported. "Medical teams are standing by for the ambassador." "And what about us?" Marcus asked, Zara's hands stilled on her controls. "What about us? Our duel is unfinished. Your customs require satisfaction." "Yes, they do." Zara's voice was carefully neutral. "And the neural link we shared, what does that mean according to your customs?" Zara was quiet for a long moment. "It means that we are connected now, Marcus Reed. Not bonded, but connected. The link has created a resonance between us that will not fade." "Is that good or bad?" "That," Zara said, finally meeting his eyes, "remains to be seen." As the crimson dawn docked with the outpost, Marcus realized that his simple rescue mission had become something far more complex. He had gained not just an ally, but a connection to an alien warrior, whose culture and customs were becoming increasingly important to him. The duel that had started as a cultural misunderstanding was evolving into something deeper, a test not just of combat skill, but of compatibility between two very different beings who had discovered an unexpected harmony. Whatever came next, Marcus knew his life had been fundamentally changed by a proud alien warrior who blushed at compliments and challenged him to single combat in the same breath. The question now was whether that change would lead to conflict, or something entirely unprecedented in human-alien relations. As medical teams took Ambassador Chen into their care, Marcus and Zara stood together on the docking platform, the weight of unfinished business hanging between them like a promise. "Tomorrow," Zara said quietly, "we finish what we started." "Tomorrow," Marcus agreed, looking forward to it more than he had ever anticipated. The story was far from over. In fact, Marcus suspected it was just beginning. The training arena on the Zephyrian outpost was a circular chamber with walls of polished black stone. Marcus stood at one end, checking his sidearm one final time. Across from him, Zara moved through warm-up exercises, her crimson armor flowing like liquid metal with each motion. "Are you certain about this?" she called out, her voice echoing in the chamber. "Our neural connection has changed things between us." "That's exactly why we need to finish this," Marcus replied. "I need to know if what I felt through the link was real or just shared adrenaline." Zara's blade sang as she drew it, the metal humming with contained energy. "And what did you feel, Marcus Reed?" "Respect, admiration, and something deeper." He raised his weapon. "What did you feel?" "The same," she admitted, taking her combat stance. "But feelings are not enough. Among my people, compatibility must be proven through action." They began to circle each other, both more relaxed than during their desperate fight on the station. This time, there was no wounded ambassador, no attacking raiders, just two warriors testing each other's limits. Marcus struck first, using the unconventional tactics that had surprised her before. But Zara was ready this time, her blade work adapting to counter his street-fighting techniques while maintaining her elegant form. "Better," Marcus observed, dodging a strike that would have ended the duel immediately. "You're learning to be unpredictable. And you are learning proper form." Zara replied, her blade dancing in complex patterns. "We adapt to each other." The fight continued for several minutes, both warriors pushing themselves to their limits. Marcus found himself anticipating Zara's moves, while she seemed to know exactly where he would dodge. The neural link they had shared was still affecting them, creating an unusual synchronization even in combat. Finally, Zara managed to slip past his guard, her blade stopping just millimeters from his throat. At the same instant, Marcus's pistol pressed against her side, having found the one gap in her armor's protection. "First blood to both," Marcus said breathlessly. "Impossible," Zara replied, equally winded. "There can be only one victor in formal combat." "Then maybe this isn't formal combat anymore," Marcus suggested, lowering his weapon. Maybe it's something else entirely. Zara stepped back, her blade still humming. What are you saying? I'm saying that what we have isn't about one person defeating the other. It's about two people finding perfect balance. Marcus holstered his pistol. Your neural link showed me something, Zara. We don't fight against each other. We fight together. The Crimson Warrior's eyes widened with understanding. A bonding duel. But that is reserved for those who seek to to what? Zara's blush returned in full force. To find a life partner. When two warriors are so perfectly matched that neither can defeat the other, it is considered a sign from the gods that they are meant to be bonded. Marcus felt his heart racing. And what do you think about that? Zara sheathed her blade with ceremonial precision. I think, Marcus Reed, that you continue to surprise me at every turn. Is that good or bad? That depends, she said, stepping closer until they were almost touching. Are you prepared for what comes next? What comes next? Among my people, when a bonding duel ends in perfect balance, the warriors must undergo the ritual of joining. It involves double quotes, she paused, her blush deepening. It involves a permanent neural bond. Marcus reached out, gently touching her armored hand. Permanent as in forever? Forever, Zara confirmed. Shared thoughts, shared emotions, shared life force. We would be connected until death parts us. That's a big commitment for someone I met yesterday. Yes, it is. Zara's voice was soft but steady. But yesterday, you saved my life, fought beside me, shared my ship's neural link, and proved yourself my equal in combat. Among my people, such events are not coincidence, they are destiny. Marcus looked into her burning eyes, seeing not just the fierce warrior but the woman beneath the armor. And what do you want, Zara Veltar? I want what I have never wanted before, she admitted. I want a partner who sees beauty in our traditions while bringing strength of his own. I want someone who can match me in battle and challenge me in peace. I want double quote, she hesitated. What? I want you, Marcus Reed, if you will have me. Marcus smiled, feeling the rightness of it in his bones. I can't think of anything I'd want more. 3 months later, Ambassador Chun stood before the assembled representatives of both species, his injuries fully healed thanks to Zephyrian medical technology. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored Zephyrians, he began. Today we witness something unprecedented in galactic history. The first formal bonding between a human and a Zephyrian, sanctified by both our peoples. Marcus stood at the altar wearing dress military uniform modified with Zephyrian ceremonial elements. Beside him, Zara wore new armor crafted specifically for the occasion, crimson plates inlaid with gold instead of silver, each piece inscribed with symbols representing unity and eternal partnership. The neural bonding will now commence, announced the Zephyrian matriarch presiding over the ceremony. Marcus placed his hands on the bonding interface, feeling the familiar sensation of technological connection. But this time, when Zara's consciousness touched his, it was different, deeper, warmer, permanent. Through their joined minds, he felt her love, her joy, her absolute commitment to their shared future. In return, she experienced his wonder at her strength, his admiration for her culture, and his complete devotion to her. It is done, the matriarch announced. They are bonded for all time. As the assembled crowd erupted in celebration, Marcus and Zara looked into each other's eyes, their consciousness now forever intertwined. Any regrets? Marcus asked through their new mental link. Only that it took a cultural misunderstanding to bring us together, Zara replied, her mental voice warm with laughter. Well, Marcus said aloud, pulling her close as their armor clinked together. I've always said your craftsmanship is extraordinary. Zara's blush, now permanent through their shared emotions, was the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever seen. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.